Hi, welcome to the quiz. You will be presented with multiple choice questions, each displayed on screen for a short time. Please make sure to attempt answering all the questions. Quizzes help us to reinforce our knowledge, identify areas where we need to focus more, and improve our overall performance. Taking quizzes can also help to increase retention and make the learning process more engaging and enjoyable. With that out of the way, you can answer along on quizalto.com. The exact URL of this quiz will be in the notes down below. Let's get started. Good luck. How can AWS Lambda functions be versioned? By using aliases and versions. By using backups. By using archives. By using snapshots. What is an example of an event source for AWS Lambda? Amazon RDS Database Event. Amazon Redshift Cluster Event. Amazon S3 Bucket Event. AWS Glue Job Event. What does the AWS Lambda invoke API call do? It updates the Lambda function code. It scales the Lambda function instances. It triggers the execution of a Lambda function. It retrieves logs from a Lambda function. What is AWS Lambda's provisioned concurrency? A feature that scales memory allocation. A feature that reduces latency by pre-creating execution environments. A feature that increases function timeout limits. A feature that manages function deployment. How is AWS Lambda built? Based on the amount of storage used. Based on the number of users accessing the service. Based on the number of virtual machines used. Based on the number of requests and the duration of code execution. What is AWS Lambda at Edge? A storage service for edge locations. A security service for edge applications. A monitoring service for edge devices. A feature that allows you to run Lambda functions at AWS edge locations. Which AWS service can package and deploy serverless applications, including AWS Lambda functions? AWS OpsWorks. AWS Elastic Beanstalk. AWS SAM. AWS Code Build. Where can you store environment variables for AWS Lambda functions? In the Lambda console. In Amazon S3. In AWS CloudFormation. In Amazon RDS. What is the primary benefit of AWS Lambda? User authentication. Serverless compute. Automated data backup. Managed databases. What happens if your AWS Lambda function exceeds the configured memory? The function is terminated and logs an error. The function automatically scales up memory. The function continues but with reduced performance. The function retries with higher memory. What is the maximum number of layers you can add to an AWS Lambda function? 15. 5. 10. 3. What is the maximum execution timeout for an AWS Lambda function? 60 minutes. 15 minutes. 5 minutes. 30 minutes. Which AWS service can be used to invoke AWS Lambda functions on a schedule? AWS Snowball. AWS Direct Connect. Amazon Guard Duty. Amazon CloudWatch Events. What does AWS Lambda automatically monitor? Databases using Amazon RDS. Storage using Amazon S3. Network traffic using AWS VPC. Functions using Amazon CloudWatch. Can AWS Lambda functions access resources in a VPC? No, Lambda functions cannot access VPC resources. Yes, but only for write operations. Yes, with appropriate VPC configuration. Yes, but only for read operations. How does AWS Lambda handle failures during execution? By sending an alert and stopping execution. By automatically scaling resources. By automatically retrying the execution twice for asynchronous invocations. By stopping execution immediately. How do you deploy code to AWS Lambda? By configuring a VPC. By setting up an EC2 instance. By creating an RDS instance. By uploading a deployment package or using an inline editor. How does AWS Lambda interact with other AWS services? Using Amazon SNS to invoke functions. Using AWS config rules. Using IAM roles to grant permissions. Using CloudWatch logs to trigger actions. What is the default memory allocation for an AWS Lambda function? 1024 megabytes. 128 megabytes. 512 megabytes. 256 megabytes. Which of the following can AWS Lambda functions not directly integrate with? Amazon RDS, Amazon S3, Amazon DynamoDB, Amazon Kinesis. What is the purpose of AWS Lambda's cold start? Initializing the function's container before execution. Updating the function's code. Stopping the function after execution. Deleting the function's logs. Which language is not supported by AWS Lambda? Java, Node.js, COBOL, Python. What is the maximum size of a deployment package for AWS Lambda when using an S3 bucket? 100 megabytes, 10 megabytes, 50 megabytes, 250 megabytes. What is the primary use of AWS Lambda's function URL? To store logs generated by the function. To manage environment variables. To provide a built-in HTTPS endpoint for the function. To set memory limits for the function. How can you manage permissions for an AWS Lambda function? Using AWS Identity and Access Management. Using Amazon VPC. Using AWS Cost Explorer. Using AWS Direct Connect. And that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone who participated. Remember, you can answer along on quizalto.com, where you can keep track of your progress and find much more quizzes. We hope you had a fun and challenging time. Until next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more. Hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as we upload. Please leave a comment if you have any thoughts or suggestions, and if you think this video is worth sharing with someone who could benefit from it, please forward a link to them. See you next time. Thanks for watching.